And now I want to talk a little bit about confusing feedback. Okay? So here's what I mean about this. If you guys aren't aware, I have a suggestion box thread open for like 3 days now, right? And the suggestion box basically is like, just tell me what you want, improvement. I want constructive criticism. And I'm approving all the suggestion box posts. And I'm not reading them fully, but I'm skimming them as I approve them. And I can tell you right now, a lot of the people posting in the suggestion box are saying things like, streamline the podcast, make the podcast shorter, less time talking, more time with gameplay. I'm not kidding. That's what it says in the suggestion box. Okay? Okay. That's the feedback you're leaving in the suggestion box. So then I do a poll. What do you want to see Tuesday night? And the majority of people are voting for, let's just hang out and talk. You mean like what I do on the podcast that the suggestion box is telling me to do less of? Huh? How does that make any sense? And the answer is it doesn't. None of it makes sense. I'm getting conflicting information. For example, we have seen in the last few weeks, actually what's happening on a lot of daytime streams is that people are coming by and they're talking and engaging in the podcast and supporting the stream on the podcast, right? We're getting things like tips and super chats and memberships and gifted memberships during the podcast. Then I start to play the game and all the contributions just stop. The engagement dies off. People leave. I sometimes have more viewers on this podcast than I do for the gameplay sessions. It's going to happen today. Right now we have 394 people on the podcast, and when I play Baldur's Gate, we get between 200-300, right? So you're telling me I have more of an audience for the podcast and more support for the podcast, but then my feedback is, do less of the podcast. And it makes me scratch my head and wonder, what is this feedback then? Right? On the one hand, people are saying, do less of this, but then that's what's getting the most attention, the most support, and people are now voting in a poll for more of it. So, huh? Right? I just don't get it. It makes me confused. It absolutely makes me confused. So I don't know how to take that feedback, nor do I know how to respond to it or how to improve my content when I'm literally getting two completely opposite impressions from feedback I'm getting, right? In fact, what we've been talking about recently is me moving forward, okay? And me becoming older. I'm not going to be Mr. Full-Time Gamer forever. I'm 41 years old. I'm actually going to be 42 in less than 2 months. Holy shit. My birthday's almost here. It's being pretty crazy, right? As I've told you guys, when I do this, okay, certain days, today not so bad, but some days worse, I get really bad tenseness, pain in my right hand. I feel all the muscles here in these fingers are tense and tight. And sometimes I get shooting pain and either numbness in the hand. It's carpal tunnel. And I know I'm going to get it. I've been playing games full time. Well, not full time, but games full, nonstop, daily for the last 15 to 16 years of my life. That's almost half of my life, right? So obviously, as I get older, this is going to become a problem, right? I'm not going to be able to just sit around and do this anymore. So I need to find a way to diversify content. It can't just be Phil sits around and plays video games all day. All right? But then at the same time, I get feedback, and the feedback is do less of the podcast so you have more time to play games. Because the problem right now is it takes you too long to get through games. But did we not just have the discussion that I'm getting older and I shouldn't play as many games and we should diversify the content? Then why are you telling me to do less of the podcast to play more games? It doesn't make sense. And that's what I mean. Like, I'm really trying to grasp everything going on here. Like, it seems like there's definitely two routes that are happening. If you want the truth, here's what I really think is happening. I have a very different fan base that splits, right? I've been doing this for 16 years. You've got people who've been around for 16 years who like the content and want to see it continue in the way that they're used to. They want me to play a lot of games. They want to see me play all the hot new releases. They're upset when I skip games. Some people are so pissed at me because I skip Suicide Squad, because I'm not checking out Helldivers, right? I didn't try Foam Stars. I'm not playing Persona 3 Reload. You know, they're angry at me. Why didn't you play all those games? Old Phil used to play every game, and now you're not playing those games? No. New Phil, modern Phil, is a live streamer. I can't play all those games. There's just not enough time. It's not viable, right? So there's not much I can really do about that, you know? But that's it. People are so used to the old days. Before I was a streamer, in 1 week I would beat 4 games, because first of all, games were much shorter. You know, the average game back then was 8 to 12 hours long. So you could play through a whole game in a few sessions and move on to the next. But in addition to that, now there's just a lot more games out at once, so you can't really play them all, right? And I'm a live streamer, meaning everything I do is on a stream that I have to have scheduled for you guys to be here to see it live, because that's how I make my livelihood. Back in the day, there was no direct capture and no live streaming. I could literally play as much or as little as a game as I wanted in one day, as long as I uploaded the videos. And then the videos would get tons of views, and the ad revenue would pay for my life, right? Now I have to be here on stream, but that's way less time, because it's about being here on a schedule, interacting with you guys, making sure the stream's running, playing a certain amount of gameplay, then having to upload separate, because you can't upload when you're streaming. That kills your bandwidth. Can't do that. So, you know, it's got to be limited. I used to actually be able to record and then upload while recording. So that's another reason why I would put out more gameplay. Every time I went to upload a batch of videos, I sat right back down and started playing again. I literally can't even do that right now. When I'm uploading, I can't stream. It's not possible, right? So, yeah, I've got to find that perfect balance. I do. And again, I'm seeing the future as a balance between gaming, which I still want to do, and I want you to understand, I don't want gaming to go away ever. Like, I would, if I'm going to continue to make content, you know, indefinitely, I want gaming to always be a part of it. Now, I don't know to what extent. Will it always be the majority of what I do? Will eventually it actually become the minority of what I do, and I'm doing other content more? I don't know. But I absolutely want to do gaming, you know, as much as I can, you know, as long as I can. It's my passion. It's what I got known for on the internet. And so I don't want that to go away. But I guess the question is, how much gaming? What gaming? Do we have to pick and choose? For example, right now, just think about this. I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3. I'm playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. We were playing Sea of Stars. We put that on hiatus. We got Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out. And we got Dragon's Dogma 2. I think at one point what we're going to have to start doing is only pick and choosing the games from a certain genre that are the biggest ones, or the ones that make sense and people want the most, and everything else just has to be skipped, because I can't be playing 5 RPGs at once. It doesn't work. When you're playing 5 RPGs at once, you can never make enough progress in any to really satisfy the hardcore fan base of that game. You see, the one game that I am making consistent progress in is Baldur's Gate 3, and that's literally because I'm playing it insane amounts, because it's so long, right? And even then, now it's going to have to go on hiatus for Final Fantasy, and people are going to be upset. And it's like, dude, I played it for 100 hours, and you're going to be upset. I know they are. I know how these people are, right? But I definitely feel, to me, like there's just too much of the same, right? I played Street Fighter 6 for 7 months, dropped Street Fighter 6, and now I'm playing Tekken. So you get it? People are now, well, it's more fighting games. Well, you're right. It's a completely different kind of fighting game. But you're right. It's still a fighting game, right? And then you got your RPG fans who want RPGs, but then there's too many at once, and everyone's upset because there's not enough of the one that they want. So I'm definitely seeing patterns emerge in the games that I'm playing. And I think the key moving forward is going to be finding the happy balance of the right genre, the right amount of each genre at the same time, to keep that variety going, to appease each type of gamer that actually watches me for those various types of games, but also finding a way to diversify my time for other projects. Like right now, I'll be honest, the one stream that I'm doing every couple of weeks of the Retro React stuff is a really great stream. We get a good audience of 200-300 people who love the retro stuff, and they're engaged, and they support that stream. So there's no reason for me to not continue that and do more of that. But the more that I do that, the less new stuff I can create, because I'm only one person. You know, this would be different if I were a team of people working together and we each split the content up, and one person could do this and one person could do this, and people, you know what I mean? I'm one dude. So I'm in demand a lot. It's crazy that I'm one guy being pulled in so many directions. We got the standard React style stuff here. We got the retro React throwback stuff here. We got the new stuff here. And then people also want me doing content where I'm like podcasting and talking and hanging out. So it's like, that's like 4 different projects I do all at once in a work week. When you think about it, I'm balancing all of them. It's wild to me because when I moved out here 10 years ago, my goal was to diversify. I told you that was one of the reasons I wanted to move, is because I wanted to do variety content. I didn't just want to be a gamer anymore. And inadvertently over the last decade, that's happened. I never really intended for that. Because I remember I said I wanted to do a gaming news show every day in the morning, and now I basically do that. It's just called a podcast. It's not really a gaming news show. It's a podcast with a variety of topics, but I'm doing what I had intended, but I never realized it until I was already doing it, you know? So anyway, this is where my confusion comes in, right? So tonight you guys are voting. What do you want on the late stream? 54% right now have voted to just chill and hang out tonight. I'm okay with that. I'm really totally fine with that. I'll hang out with you guys for a couple hours. We could do whatever you want. Like I said, we could just talk. We could do some suggestion box stuff. You know, we could, you know, whatever you want. I'm okay. But the thing that gets me is so many people are like, don't make the podcast shorter, but then you vote for like essentially podcast 2.0 on the late stream. And it's like, so that's a mixed message, right? So I don't even know what's more in demand. Jasper, what do you think? Jasper, do you prefer talking podcast style interactive content, or do you prefer gameplay? Which do you like more? Gameplay or talking? Jasper, you gonna answer? Maybe Jasper's not the right person to ask. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say.